Late-night calls from Prince Harry to his elder brother, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, Prince William, and growing concerns over here in the United Kingdom about the ongoing health crisis of His Majesty the King, not to mention Queen Camilla.
My father has always understood that people of all faiths, all backgrounds, and all communities deserve to be celebrated and supported.
The announcement came quietly, almost too quietly for its gravity. Within minutes, every television network across the United Kingdom carried the same stark headline. Prince William confirms tragic update on King Charles's health. Those words rippled through social media, through drawing rooms, through the very corridors of Buckingham Palace itself. For months, whispers had circled about His Majesty's treatment, his increasingly frail appearance, his unexpected absences. But this time, the confirmation did not come from palace aides or physicians. It came directly from his son, the future king, in a voice laced with sorrow no royal statement could soften. Outside the palace gates, the atmosphere was unlike anything seen since the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. Crowds gathered, clutching flowers and phones, uncertain whether to pray or prepare for the inevitable. A national uncertainty that laid bare the quiet vacuum of power forming, where the symbol of the nation risked faltering, threatening political, economic, and social undercurrents no one dared contemplate. No sovereign to open parliament. No monarch to receive heads of state. The pound potentially unsteady from a mere ceremonial void. Tourism around London facing billions in losses. Royal warrant brands diminished in value. And the image of a United Kingdom reduced to memory. Reporters lined the mall. Cameras trained on windows that remained resolutely shuttered across the Atlantic. International broadcasters replayed William's brief statement on loop. My father's condition is stable, but His Majesty's illness is incurable. We are cherishing the time we have together. The phrases incurable and cherishing were all the world needed to hear, and a painful reminder that should this king no longer command the reins, the United Kingdom would face a crisis of symbolic authority. No one to preside over the state opening of Parliament, no one to greet foreign leaders, and Sterling itself might waver from the mere absence of ritual. The health of King Charles has been a subject of speculation since His Majesty was diagnosed with cancer in early 2024. Buckingham Palace issued carefully calibrated updates stressing optimism, rest, and the prospect of recovery. But behind closed doors, sources whispered that the treatments had exacted a toll far heavier than anyone anticipated. A toll not merely on the body, but on the spirit of a man who once prided himself on an almost stubborn resilience. In public, the king smiled and waved, posture regal, yet energy visibly ebbing. He continued to receive ambassadors and sign documents, but each appearance seemed to drain him further. Every gesture no longer mere ceremony but a silent battle against a body betraying the lifelong pride and physical strength. Now, after months of uncertainty, Prince William has stepped forward to speak the truth. To understand how this moment arrived, one must look back decades to when Charles was a vigorous Prince of Wales, alive with athletic vigor. In his youth, he was renowned for his passion for polo, gardening, and hill walking across the Scottish Highlands. Fitness was part of his identity, proof that royal life could be dynamic and purposeful. He rose before dawn, spent hours in the saddle, and never complained of bruises or driving rain, those small joys. From the scent of damp earth in the gardens to the wind's howl across the hills, now surrendered inch by inch to an unrelenting illness. Those who knew him then describe a man of iron resolve, almost obstinate in his refusal to show weakness, even when injured. That pride began to fracture in early 2024 when the palace issued an unusually detailed statement announcing that the king would undergo treatment for an enlarged prostate. The transparency was hailed as a new era of openness. The procedure was successful, and Charles appeared cheerful upon discharge. Yet, only weeks later, follow-up tests uncovered something else, something far more sinister. In February, Buckingham Palace confirmed that a form of cancer had been detected. The precise type was not disclosed, sparking speculation and unease. For the first time, the sovereign of the United Kingdom was a patient in a battle he could not fully command. A war that threatened not only his strength but the very symbol binding the nation. From then on, the pattern became familiar. Brief hospital visits, cautiously optimistic updates. The palace described each as routine or precautionary. But over the months, the strain became evident. Subtle weight loss, pallid complexion, and public appearances growing shorter. By April, he jested lightly at a military barracks about being let out of his cage, resuming duties with a resilience that masked the nausea from chemotherapy. Yet the evidence mounted. a bloodshot eye during a state visit to France in July 2025, dismissed as an allergy, but whispered to signal deeper strain. A March hospitalization for temporary side effects, the palace's understated phrase for a body buckling under the assault of treatment. Still he pressed on. He continued weekly audiences with the Prime Minister, signed documents and delivered brief addresses. Each signature a defiance against the disease, yet also a reminder that should he falter, the entire ceremonial machinery of state would face an unprecedented void. Those who met him behind the scenes, however, said he was often exhausted. Now with Prince William confirming the illness is incurable, the truth so long guarded has finally been laid bare. It was the first time a member of the royal family had spoken so openly of life's finitude since the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. The public response was immediate. Messages flooded the palace. Candles flickered outside Windsor Castle. Even critics of the monarchy voiced sympathy. To many Britons, Charles embodied continuity after Queen Elizabeth's passing. A bridge between old and new. Yet now that bridge trembled, and should it collapse, Scotland might seize the moment to demand independence. Political factions could clash with renewed ferocity, and the image of a united kingdom would fade to memory. His decline now feels like the close of an era. William's decision to speak has been widely praised as courageous and compassionate. Yet, it carries unmistakable political weight, signaling that the transfer of power, at least in practice, has begun. In private, sources close to the matter say King Charles has prepared for this moment with quiet acceptance. An acceptance not only for himself, but for the invisible burden his son now shoulders alone. In recent weeks, His Majesty is understood to have recorded personal messages, updated private correspondence, and discussed final wishes with the Archbishop of Canterbury. Those who have met him describe a man more contemplative than fearful. He speaks of legacy, of leaving behind not merely a reign, but a renewed sense of purpose for the institution. And in those words, he entrusts hope that his two sons might reconcile. For should William and Harry remain divided, this cycle of transition would be not only emotionally painful, but politically destabilizing to the realm itself. Like his forebears, he has drafted what palisades refer to as final wishes, not in legal terms but in moral ones. Royal history is rich with such gestures. Queen Victoria requested burial in white with her wedding veil and a locket of Prince Albert close to her heart. King George V urged the monarchy to retain humility and connection with the people. King George V's Sixth Council led the young Elizabeth to remain calm and steadfast through storms. Charles, steeped in that lineage, is believed to have expressed three hopes: that the monarchy continue to modernize, that his sons reconcile, and that Britain never forget the humanity of the crown. It is both a personal plea and a royal road map, one that, if unheeded, risks leaving a divided kingdom with sterling weakened and royal tourism in collapse. The first wish, modernization, has already taken shape. Under Charles, the monarchy has slimmed, focusing on core duties and transparency. William and Catherine have become the fresh face of that mission. Their warmth, approachability, and commitment to issues like mental health and the environment have reshaped public perception of the crown. Yet, behind the glow, Catherine quietly shoulders a silent strength of her own. Raising 3 children while confronting recent health trials, emerging as a figure millions of women can relate to. Through William, the burden of transition subtly reveals itself. A son shouldering more from climate summits to Commonwealth addresses. His extremely difficult months. A brutal update on 2 parallel family battles. His wife's recovery, a parallel scar. The illusion of perfect health is crumbling. A courtier confided as William is quietly prepared to ascend swiftly. His horror at the frail images, a silent vow to honor the creed without bearing the full weight of the crown at once. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla has assumed more of the king's responsibilities. She is the steady hand clasping his during the Samoa tour. Her own health concerns whispered but unspoken, a consort enduring private sleepless nights, wiping sweat from his brow on the small hours when duty gives way to despair. Her presence beside him during walks at Newmarket in July, where he admitted feeling much better amid survivor stories, says everything. Not the glamour of the crown, but the grit of a partner who weathered storms to become his quiet fortress. In her, the king's vulnerability finds voice. Her reports to friends that he is doing extremely well in the circumstances serve as a shield for the man touching every letter of support. Each one a lifeline in the isolation of power. Then there is Princess Anne, ever the mounted sentinel, mirroring her brother's stoicism at trooping the color. Her unadorned practicality, a bulwark against emotion. She continues hundreds of engagements yearly, embodying the duty her mother instilled. Palace insiders say, and has become William's unofficial counselor, guiding him through the intricacies of stepping into his father's shoes. Together, they reflect the institution's quiet resilience. But even as the royal machinery adapts, one absence remains impossible to ignore. Prince Harry, the king's wayward younger son, lives thousands of miles away, his transatlantic exile, a mirror to the fractures Charles longs to mend. Sources close to the palace say His Majesty still yearns for reconciliation, often speaking of two sons, two paths, one hope. Harry's departure in 2020 was meant to bring peace. Instead, it birthed years of contention, interviews, memoirs, lawsuits, each widening the chasm. Yet now, with his father's health failing, whispers suggest even Harry feels the pull of duty returning. A duty that, if missed, would leave wounds not only in the family, but in a public yearning for unity. He is torn, an insider confides. He wants to be there, but knows his presence might overshadow the moment. Whether he returns in time remains one of the monarchy's most pressing emotional questions. Meanwhile, William has fully assumed the role of de facto sovereign in all but name. He chairs state meetings, receives briefings, and oversees the daily rhythm of the crown. Yet behind the composure lies a son bearing a weight few can imagine. The nation now wonders what comes next. Will King Charles abdicate? Will Britain witness a living monarch hand over the crown before death? Should it happen if King Charles chooses abdication while still alive? It would mark an unprecedented historical turning point since the abdication crisis of King Edward VIII in 1936. Yet unlike that scandal-scarred surrender for forbidden love, this transfer would be etched as the noble act of a sovereign who recognizes his own limits. It would affirm that even the throne cannot stand outside time's decree. In that instant, Britain's image would split between nostalgia and renewal. One side, the past of loyalty, ancient ritual, and memories of an Elizabeth era. The other, the future, youthful, pragmatic, eager to redefine royalty in the 21st century. For the people, the moment could stir emotions both sorrowful and serene. A departure and full awareness, not tragedy but a dignified passing of the torch. Squares would fill with flags and flowers. Queues would form once more outside the palace, not to mourn but to witness. A rare ceremony where history and present converge. In the Commons, MPs would debate the meaning of modern monarchy, while scholars would ask, can the institution outlast itself when the last king of the old generation chooses release? Yet beyond Westminster's walls, the public would feel something else, a closeness. As the throne ceases to be a distant emblem and becomes the story of a man brave enough to acknowledge finitude, Britain could enter a rare phase of reinvention where tradition's values are preserved but no longer deified. William, with his calm and practical bearing, would guide a slimmer monarchy, less ceremonial, more socially accountable. That shift, if smooth, could restore faith among the young who once saw the institution as an outdated relic. A dynasty that knows when to step back is a dynasty that knows how to endure. The following morning, the palace confirmed that the Duke of Sussex had visited his father in private. The encounter lasted less than an hour, yet witnesses described it as profoundly emotional. Whatever words were exchanged remain confidential, but sources close to both brothers say the meeting may have sparked the slow beginnings of reconciliation, a faint glimmer of hope amid a nation fearful of permanent division. In the press, the tone shifted from speculation to reflection. Newspapers ran lengthy retrospectives on Charles's life. Decades as Prince of Wales, environmental advocacy, devotion to the arts. Documentaries replayed footage of him planting trees, comforting flood victims, sketching in notebooks. The narrative that emerged was not of a king fading into irrelevance, but of a man whose lifelong passions have finally found their place in history. Passions that, if severed, would leave an unfillable cultural void. He was ahead of his time. One commentator noted that he spoke of climate change before it was fashionable, of duty when the world prized freedom. His reign may be brief, but its impact will endure. Public sentiment mirrors that respect. Candle-lit vigils continue nightly outside Buckingham Palace. Choirs sing hymns, spontaneous rituals, uncommanded yet laden with meaning in a country facing the risk of losing its unifying soul. Union Jacks fly at half-mast, not by decree but by instinct. Even monarchy critics are moved by the dignity of it all. The quiet courage of a king facing finitude without fanfare. For a fleeting moment, Britain feels united again. Not by politics or protocol but by empathy. A fragile unity that could shatter should this symbol vanish without a seamless transition. Inside the palace, succession preparations intensify behind the scenes. Official documents are reviewed, speeches drafted, logistics rehearsed for what insiders delicately term Operation Mini Bridge, the code name for the king's eventual passing. Yet those closest to Charles insist hope remains. That bright moments still flicker. He smiles. He reminisces. One staff member said, "He tells stories of childhood, of gardens, of his mother, tales that remind us that however heavy the crown, he is still a man with ordinary memories." There is continuity. Even in decline, he reminds us where we come from. The Archbishop of Canterbury visits regularly, offering prayers and companionship. On one occasion, he led a small private service attended only by Charles, Camilla, William, and Anne. They sang softly, the sound barely rising above the whisper of wind outside, a human moment amid the cold choreography of a state funeral. Afterward, Charles is said to have remarked, "If my reign ends tomorrow, I will go knowing we did our utmost for this country." It was both confession and benediction. In Parliament, tributes begin to surface, understated yet sincere. MPs from every party speak of the King's dedication, lifelong service, humor, small details enough to remind that losing him is not merely losing a sovereign, but losing a piece of national identity. One recalls a private audience where Charles discussed architecture and agriculture with equal fervor. He cared deeply about the details of life, the MP said. Not just the grand symbols but the soil beneath them. It was that very humanity, perhaps more than any title, that endeared him to the people. As autumn arrived, the palace released what may be the final official portrait of King Charles III. He sits in his study, sunlight streaming through the window, a faint smile on his lips. On the desk is a framed photograph of Queen Elizabeth II and another of his two sons as young boys. The image is simple, unadorned yet powerful. A man between generations, between duty and eternity. A final emblem splashed across front pages under the headline, "Graceful to the End." Yet also a warning that should this symbol fade, the world would see Britain as a waning empire. In the weeks that followed, the world grew quieter. Public engagements were suspended and palace statements became rare. Then one evening, the gates closed earlier than usual, and word spread that family members had been summoned to Windsor. No announcement came that night. But the next morning, the Prime Minister emerged from Downing Street in somber attire. "His Majesty is comfortable," she said softly, "and surrounded by family." The nation read between the lines. A message that sent church bells ringing not in mourning but in prayer and made people pause in their daily lives, whispering hopes for a future they knew might be uncertain. The monarchy stands once more on history's threshold, its heart beating in time with the people it has served across generations. And somewhere in the hushed corridors of Windsor, a father looks upon his son one last time, not as sovereign to heir, but as a man to the boy who will inherit not only the crown, but the burden, the dreams, and the love for the land both call home. It is, in every sense, the most human farewell. One that closes not just Charles's reign, but opens a new chapter for William, for the family, and for a united kingdom standing at a historic crossroads, where every eye turns to the solitary heir, to the silent pillars, and to the innocent children who will grow up in a world without the grandfather they once knew.